because I think it's one of the most important things. I'm going to read the announcement that John has passed along to me. That Sam and Emily Altman welcome their new baby daughter, Annabelle May, on Saturday, April the 9th at 11:50 p.m. Big brother Ben is adjusting well and loves his new sister. Annabelle May weighed 8 pounds, 1 ounce, 19 3/4 inches long. Emily had an easy delivery, and the family is doing well. So,
That is good. Big baby.
good news, and congratulations to Emily and her husband there and son.
I have a suggestion.
Yes.
I don't know if we normally send people a card or something, but I think we should send a book because, you know, we're the library board.
Yeah.
Well, I think we could do that.
And the big brother needs
Yes.
Like,
something
that's
to
actually
look
almost
at.
more important.
That's true. Yeah, that's a nice idea.
That is a great idea.
Okay. Scott, can that, okay,
Yeah, we'll work on that.
come
And
up
I think
something?
there are books about, you know,
Being the
the
big
new
brother,
baby or
yeah.
something.
Yeah,
The big brother.
yeah. So,
Okay.
and something that they'll enjoy reading to the baby over the, you know. Okay, well, let's go ahead and jump into the meeting then. Oh, and I guess, can we enlist Jana to sign a card for all of us since we don't have one to sign today? Just something to go with that. Just, okay. Calling us to order the agenda. So is there anything that needs to be added to the agenda at this time? No? Okay. So I'm going to ask that we get a motion to approve the April 27, 22 agenda as submitted.
I move that we approve the agenda as printed.
Okay?
And I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay. And then second, following that, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of the March 23rd, 2022 regular meeting minutes, the current pending deposited gift report, and the statistical report as submitted. Motion?
I move that we approve.
Okay, Chris, and can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, opposed, no? Okay. Great. We don't have anyone for public comment period? No one's wandered in recently? No, okay. So we'll jump right to the reports. And what did Ruth say? She sent me something.
Ruth
She was sending a
can't-
report?
Yeah, Ruth sent in a report. I
Thank
have a
you.
copy of her report. Clay would usually give it, but he
Right.
is at Broad Rock because all of our managers are attending we have a kind of leadership institute going. It's called Richmond Leads. So our branch managers are going through a training where they do kind of a Myers-Briggs assessment. And it's an 8-week program. So they're at the Bird Roundhouse today doing a training with consultants that we have. So I will give the report for
Okay.
Clay.
If you do that, that'd be great.
Let's see, and this is from Ruth. The Friends have just started their financial year, and they will be filling out their schedule for meetings for the next year at their next board meeting, which will be May 4th. They will be able to provide RPL with a gift of $11,432.35 for programs. And we'll provide them a report of what those funded. They are planning a summer bag sale on June 4th. It'll be $10 a bag and $2 a bag for teachers with a current school ID. They're working on holding a larger annual meeting this year because they've kind of been in COVID the last few years, and so they'll be able to roll that out, and they have not determined a date on that. So, had a pretty good book sale here a few weeks ago. So,
Excellent. Okay, any questions for Scott about the Friends that you might be able to answer? No? Okay. Jump right into the foundation. We don't have Susan this morning either. Scott, are you?
Susan is at the Leads program.
Okay.
I have her attending that training.
Okay. We're getting a well-trained staff.
Yes, yes. So the foundation welcomes Mrs. Joanne Fry to the foundation. Ms. Fry is a senior attorney with the Virginia Division of Legislative Services in Richmond. This is her first RPL meeting will be at the 3-Board Retreat, which is May 7th. I think you all might have received a reminder of that, and that will be here. So please introduce yourself when you meet Ms. Fry. Let us know if you can't make it. So she sent out that notification. grants and active partnerships we have going. So the Public Law Library was awarded a grant from the Virginia Center for the Book in support of a program, What Makes a Fact True? Local Journalism and American Democracy. This will feature Pulitzer Prize winner Michael Paul Williams and Pulitzer Prize nominee Chip Jones and VCU journalism teacher Dr. Mallory Perryman. Democracy is going to be the next big thing. So we're up to speed with that. And I will say that the Virginia Center for the Book loved this concept of this program and actually gave us extra funding to advertise it more. So that should be a dynamite program.
Yeah.
Should be. The Andrew Mellon Foundation and the Virginia Center for the Book, we thank them for their support and they of this initiative for Pulitzer Prizes for their partnership. The program Democracy and the Informed Citizen Initiative, administered across the nation by the Federation of State Humanities Council. This initiative seeks to deepen the public's knowledge and appreciation of the vital connections between democracy, the humanities, journalism, and an informed citizenry. That program will take place on May 17th at 6:30 at the main library and will be live streamed over the RPL YouTube channel. So for more information, register at our library's website. And then lastly, the foundation was excited to team up with Youth Services librarian Beth Morris to submit a grant to the Fan District Association in a request to support a series of summer reading programs at the Belmont Branch Library. So Beth was very excited about that.
Interesting.
And that's all I have for the foundation.
Belmont isn't in the thing, I find that interesting.
It's right on the line.
I'm glad my neighborhood is contributing.
I guess it's the closest.
Just as a comment, I
Well,
run
there's the
that
West of the
grant
Boulevard
program.
Association. And there's a.
No, I
And
mean,
For those of
is
you
it
who
the
live in
library
neighborhoods
services?
that have
Right, right,
associations
right,
that
right.
have
It
grants.
grants.
It does,
Right,
so-
it doesn't.
Let's,
There's-
I'm just
there's
being,
no library.
I'm being
Is there?
nasty.
your
Not
local
in the
library.
not in the second
Technically.
district.
Very
Wait,
important.
wait,
Not
That's
technically.
Wait,
The first to tell you that.
children
Yeah.
or
Could
other
Could you
type
repeat it
programs.
again?
Can you hear me?
No.
well, there was
They were talking.
there was
Sorry,
talking.
go ahead, Chris.
I was just being nasty. Sorry.
Sorry.
We were just being.
So I live in the FAN and run the FAN District Association's grants program.
Oh, good. So
And I alerted Susan that this was one to apply for, but I also want to mention to all of you, where you live, if you have associations, it is possible they too have a grants program. And we want Susan Revere to know about that, because the money is just the right size for a great children's program, for a great speakers program that can be housed right in your community.
Yeah.
Bravo, Chris, thank you.
Yeah, Westover
Christie
Hills,
Lodge.
we could do that.
Pardon me?
At Westover Hills or Ginter Park, yeah, they
Right.
all have associations that we should,
Right.
we'd
The
be happy to go
museum
and talk to them.
district, the- yeah.
Absolutely,
West End.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I know the West End Library, they work quite a bit with, can't think of the neighborhood, the Patterson Avenue Merchants they work with.
That's one they work with, yeah.
Um, But yeah, and then the JCC over there, we've worked
Does.
with them in the past.
It does some things and backs up right to the library, so.
Yep.
Well, sort of.
Yep.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Gary.
Hi, Garrett.
Hi, Garrett.
Okay, any questions on the foundation report? Okay, Scott, you still have the floor. We're gonna let you do the
Okay.
administrative report now.
All right. I just want to highlight, National Library Week was a pretty big success. The mayor and Councilor Jones went to Broad Rock Branch Library and delivered this proclamation.
Wow.
Okay,
I'll go ahead and read this if you don't mind.
okay.
It's a proclamation. Whereas today's libraries are not just about books, but what they do for and with people. Libraries of all types are at the heart of cities, towns, schools, campuses, and whereas libraries and librarians build strong communities through transformative services, programs, and expertise in the city of Richmond, and whereas libraries promote engagement by keeping people informed and aware of community events and issues in the city of Richmond, and whereas libraries and librarians empower their communities to make informed decisions by providing free access to information in the city of Richmond, and whereas librarians and library workers partner with civic organizations to make their community needs make sure their community's needs are being met in the city of Richmond. And whereas libraries are a resource for all members of the community, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or socioeconomic status, by offering services and educational resources that transform lives and strengthen communities in the city of Richmond. And whereas librarians, library workers, and supporters are celebrating National Library Week in the city of Richmond. Now, therefore, I, Mayor LeVar Stoney of the city of Richmond, do hereby proclaim the week of April 3rd to April 9th as National Library Week in the city of Richmond, and encourage all residents to visit Richmond Public Library this week and explore what is new at your library, engage with your librarians, and because of you, libraries transform. So that was issued on the 3rd day of April 2022.
Wow, very nice.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice indeed.
And he and Counselor Jones were at Broad Rock, and at the same time they were having a haiku contest. Counselor Jones, I believe, won the day because he did one about how he had a bald head, and then Mayor Stoney riffed off of his and said that he had hair with his haiku. I should get copies of those to share. It was very in the spirit of National Library. So it was a great occasion. So that's been the big thing. And I have some other reports on facilities and budget.
And 2 new hires, that's good.
3 new hires. We have a person starting at North Avenue. We have a person starting at the main library, and a person at West End. I think they're all in here mentioned. They started this week. We're slowly getting.
Just one started
Just one started. The other 2 will start
on the 9th of May.
on the 9th of May.
Good.
That's where Clay is at today because we're shorthanded. He's at Broad Rock covering while the manager is out. That's all I have over the last month. I attended the Virginia Library Directors Meeting in Stanton and got an update on what's been going on around the state. Censorship continues to be an issue in our media center libraries and school libraries across the state. State funding, the Virginia Library Directors Association, VLA, uses a gentleman named Phil Abrahams. He's a lobbyist for the state of Virginia, and he was giving us an update on the budget. Apparently, no one knows where we're at with the budget. This is the first time in a long time that the state does not have a budget by the end of the General Assembly term. So if you've been following your paper, you'll see that. We're not sure if we're going to be seeing full state aid or not. It was in there. If the General Assembly would fund full state aid, we get about $209,000 a year from the state of Virginia to support purchases of books, but it would double that amount of money if they fully funded it. So we'll see if that survives the budget process and if they can provide that. But that was generally what I heard at the state level at that meeting.
Great. Okay, going to move on. I don't really have anything from the chairman perspective until we get into the advocacy discussion and some of the other items. I've got some comments on them, but I think from the chair's perspective, things are just moving along nicely. We're sort of coming out of the COVID restrictions on so many things that we're getting better attendance at activities. We seem to be running more programs now than, we're really getting into that swing of it, and that's going well. If you look at the numbers on the door counts, circulation, et cetera, it's all positive. It's very good. So I think we're starting to come back to the point maybe where we're running smoothly, and as a board, we can start turning our attention from sort of the emergency over these last 2 years back to the advocacy, back to some of the direction type items. I would like to comment, I passed along to Scott and Chris, talking about censorship. Recent, I think it was Washington Post article, might have been Journal. Anyway, a recent article that's really a little scary as to what's going on in censorship in some areas. And I wanted to compliment the library staff and Chris for having pushed in this direction of updating our censorship policy. I think we are nicely out ahead of any motions, any movement toward restricting us. I don't think we have an issue there, but we tried to get out ahead of that, and that's good. So I'm going to move it along to Garrett. You're going to do the finance, or you and Scott?
I am. Good afternoon, everyone.
Oh, Garrett, before you start, congratulations.
Yes,
on your,
yay!
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to share with you this afternoon is that actually 2 days ago I received a communication from Dominique Faxon. She is the liaison for Councilman Jones. And she actually revisited a communication that we had previously related to adding $500K into the budget. So I just took it upon myself to say, well, we're very happy that we've gotten our budget restored back to FY19, but absolutely, if we can get additional $500K introduced by City Council and get that amendment passed, that would be fantastic. So they're going to introduce it. So hopefully that will yield some additional funds for the library.
Yep, and I can bring you up to speed on that because Councilor Jones introduced it Monday.
Fantastic.
And he was very passionate about it, and he explained how the advocacy here, he heard it, and his visits to Broad Rock and his conversations with you definitely and I explained to him, I said, we got the funding to 436 in the budget, and he said, yeah, I know that, but I would like to see our libraries restored up to where they need to be, so I'm going to go in there and fight for the $500K and see what we can do. And I said, absolutely. So, what can we do to help you with that? So that popped up again on Monday. I went to council yesterday because I couldn't get into the call on Monday, so I sat in the council chambers in person and answered their questions. And Laura says there was an article in the paper, so I have to say all of our council members yesterday were advocating for the library in terms of trying to get that funding in. We come down to the end, it's like any negotiation. We're running out of time and they're running out of money, and they don't have a lot of money to play with. And so I thanked them for their support. I explained where we were at, and they said, okay, so we would like to have Sundays at every library. I said, well, I can give you a number for that. It's going to be beyond what $500,000 can do. And so they said, well, go back in the back and talk to Mr. Bay and see what you can do with the funding we have, and work with our council financial people and see what you can do. So we hashed it over and worked it out. We were not able to get $500,000. We were not able to get $330,000, which would have probably restored services at the main library at Broad Rock and Ginter Park. We were able to get $100,000, and Councilor Jones was very supportive of that because that would allow us to repilot the Sundays at the Broad Rock branch, which is where Sundays started in the system back in 2014. So we will be able to ramp up, provide the resources to get Sundays restarted at Broad Rock. They heard that, and what was even better was that they heard it and they said, okay, we'll revisit this in next fiscal year and come back to us with a plan for how we can even expand ours even more. So I have to say, the advocacy we did and your conversations, all of them were talking about the library and support of the library. So high five to everyone.
That's great. That is nice.
I have to say, administration was very supportive of it as well. They were working with us to try and support Councilor Jones's effort, because I think the mayor and administration all want to see us have the libraries that our citizens deserve. So it was a great meeting. It would have been nice to get more funding, but
So we're total 436, 536 up?
So yeah, it's at 536 if you add the additional funding. So that takes our budget to $6,863,938. Now that was the consensus agreement. It could change. They were still waiting for the school board to deliver their budget. They had not delivered it as of 1 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon, which they were swearing they were going to get done. But I don't know what happened to that. If that changes, the funding could move around within, but that is a pretty solid number for them at this point. So that was great. And I will say that, the master plan was raised. Ms. Robertson, I'd had a meeting with her and showed her the draft submission that you have in front of you. We'll look at it in a little bit. And she's very supportive of the plan. She was excited about it, what it would do for the downtown library, how it would enhance things. And she made comment on it during her moment when she had a chance to speak yesterday. So I was very nice to see all of the council people just supporting and pushing for libraries.
Yeah.
May I just reiterate the value of those cheat sheets that you and Bill created with the promotion and then the final details on the numbers. That was very helpful.
Yep.
So let's keep those handy.
I think Chris did a great job of sort of keeping us focused on the right things, how to apply this to them.
Right.
And Scott put together great numbers. And really, it's just getting the information clearly presented in front of them. Y'all did a wonderful job. People who hadn't been thinking about the libraries thought about it. And they recognized how important they are and how underfunded they are. To get 4 or 5 council members really actively trying to get that extra $500,000 the other day is a real big step. They couldn't do it completely. That's not a shock to any of us. I mean, for them to have gotten 100 out of that, I was really pleased when Scott let me know yesterday afternoon that much had gotten approved. Because I didn't think that, I was concerned going into it that they were going to try to cut what we'd already been working at. And to go the other way is a really nice step at that point. So I think everyone gets credit for having contacted your council members and just tied them a little bit more into the library understanding of us. So, okay.
The other thing that made a difference, and I got questioned on, was, how are you going to build capacity in your staff? And I said, this budget provides us with that funding to give a 5% raise to our long-term employees, our existing employees, and it also will raise the starting wages for our new employees to $17, which will make us competitive with Henrico and Chesterfield. And so one of the issues with the city, and I have to really applaud the administration's effort to get wages up. It's something that has been a problem for a very long time, and they've been able to get that funded and get that through, and that's what this budget will provide it. So I'm very hopeful that will help us get the staff in place to really not only improve access, but address early literacy, which was something that we hit upon, and I made sure that I reminded them of, is that, our children over the last 2 years, they've been struggling. And we have an opportunity to support them in early literacy and just getting them ready to go back to school and be the young scholars that we know that they can be. So I think that's really helped us with our case.
I'll add to that getting the additional funding for salaries is really important for the staffing and keeping them, maintaining them long term. I think the other part of that is funds that don't directly go to salaries, but that go to programs. Let librarians have success and let them have creativity and do what they came here to do. So we've sometimes lost librarians because, not just money, but because they could go to a neighboring facility and implement ideas and try out different things and do programs that we just haven't had the funds. So it helps both ways. We pay them more and also let them really do the job the way they want to do it and the way we want them doing it. So I think there's positive all around there. So excellent. Garrett, anything else you wanted to say on finance? Nope. Okay. Janet, we're going to move on to you're one of the big topics, obviously.
Well, I am excited about this money situation because I think it's helping to build momentum for this. So I'm excited by everything all of you have said.
And Janet, I will add that it has been, as Scott said, this is one of the first times we've had the council, the administration, both sort of seeing it working together. There has not been any rancor or friction between administration, the council, and our goals here at the library in here. Everyone's been trying for that same goal, which is really good. That puts us well positioned to this much bigger goal.
It's very exciting. Even Gail's excited.
I'm very excited.
I was going to say even Gail.
Oh, I'm teasing.
Is Gail hard to get?
No, I'm teasing Gail because Gail is always on, she's always ready to edit or contribute to anything that comes from Steinberg Hart,
No
which
kidding.
I am very grateful
Yeah.
that you're that way. So
I'm the reality
Okay, you're-
editor.
yeah.
I don't have much of a report
That's okay.
because I'm excited the Urban Design Council has this. So Gail and I are on standby for that master plan, but we haven't actually done much since
Okay.
our last
Do-
meeting. So
Is there
Scott, do
anything
you want to tell us
talk about in the
this?
packet? Do we want to show, you had that.
Well,
up,
I
didn't
have
you?
a PowerPoint of it, and we can walk through
Do
it.
you want to walk through that? I think just
Would you all
might
like
be
to
a nice
look at
thing
it?
to,
Get kind
this is
of
what
a-
you're going to present to the UDC.
Well, the UDC, the architects present this to the UDC. So
Okay.
this is really the conceptual version of this last year of gathering feedback, community meetings, benchmarking, the architectural review. So this is did I already say it's a Reader's Digest version
did.
of it? And so a more comprehensive report will come out. But this will go to the UDC and give them a high-level view of the concept. If they have questions, we can answer them. If they have comments, encouragements, they will provide those. If there are any showstoppers, we can address them and then move forward. From the UDC, it'll then go to zoning. UDC is the main one because they're the ones who really review the design. Zoning, we're not asking for a zoning change in this building, so that's not going to really impact things. So once those two parts of the process sign off on it, then we'll get the final version that you all will
Yeah.
review. And then it will go into the CIP and be reviewed for consideration as to how the city can fund it in future years. The CIP is a 2 to 5 year process.
So UDC doesn't have it yet.
No, they have it.
They have it.
Their clerk has it, and it's on the May 5th agenda.
Okay.
So they will be reviewing it at May 5th. The architects will be there to answer questions.
Okay.
KEI will probably be there in person, and then Steinberg Hart will be there virtually.
And will you be there?
I'll be there too,
Oh.
yep. And Dexter will be there.
Okay.
So we'll be there to answer any questions. But Steinberg Hart are the ones that'll have those things. They've already done kind of a low-level review, and they haven't brought anything that are like showstoppers.
Good.
So it's mainly just a review of the concept and kind of show them the master plan the renovation plan as it sits.
May I just say that, just FYI, this is really a summary of 95 pages of text that we've been working with, so it's been a big process.
So let's go through it.
Do you want to run through just, it would be worthwhile reading more depth than just this before the meeting on the 7th, but this is a good start for,
This will be what we're going to present on the 7th, and I'll have the architects here to answer further questions on it, because we may get into like, well, why did you not demo the park, or why did you not knock the whole building down, or why are we not moving the building somewhere else, or what about, they'll be able to answer some of those questions, and we can describe a little bit of the process.
Yeah.
There'll be questions about trees, I guarantee you.
Trees, we talked a lot about trees.
That was a whole meeting
please
on
always
trees.
bring up questions.
Holy cow.
It's a balance.
Yeah.
It's always a trade-off.
I was pleased that somebody proofread this, Janet. They didn't send it to
This
me.
first image on this first kind of lead-in page, this is what they call like a wedding cake cross-section of the building. This would be looking at the building from Main Street, looking north. And it kind of details how the building would look with the additional parking underneath the building. The children's section would open up. The Richmond Special Collections Room would be added. Just really shows you kind of the blocking for how the collection would be laid out and how the services would lay out in the space. And this is existing conditions, so this is a view of the building, so kind of a after and a before. You can something that Washington, DC Public Library, Martin Luther King added. It is one of their most popular spaces that they added in 2020. One of the other really important details is that a goal that we're trying for is a net zero building. So it would be a building that would be environmentally friendly and sustainable. So you see a bunch of rooftop solar panels laid out. We've had questions of, well, how many kilowatts will this provide the building? We're not quite there yet, but all of these concepts are where we want to go, and that's what plan is going to lay out for the UCC and for our users. Just at first, do you have any questions or any things pop into your this is an overhead view, so it kind of gives you the main footprint of the building and what it could look like if we make these changes to the current floor plan. One of the key things that we spent a lot of time talking about is this is the existing library park. One of our challenges was how could we get the additional space and areas that we wanted without increasing the footprint, or if we preserve the old building, how could we get the space we needed for the program that people told us that they wanted. We had contemplated replacing this garden, extending the building out this way, but this is one of the few green spaces in downtown, and one of the things that we heard from our users was they wanted to see more green space around the building.
They cannot hear you on the live stream.
Any questions on that? This diagram shows you all of the parking spaces that would be added. This would be 70 parking spaces that would be underneath the building. It would be additional to what we have on street. It would also add an exterior book drop, so you could drive up and drop off and pick up your books. And this would also be the main entrance to the library from the, if you park. There would be, that yellow dot in the center is where you would enter in the building and enter in that this welcome space. This diagram shows you all the blocking of where we would put collections and services. So the children's area would be approximately 3,300 square feet. Special collections law library would appear on, this is the first floor plan. Adult collections, so all of the collections would be accessible on the first floor of the building. Circulation services, friends of the library area, restrooms. The centerpiece is that grand stairwell, and then this is that living room space, which is approximately 4,000 square feet. So as you enter the building, you would have this place to gather. We can do programs in this space, and it would be a space that could be available in the library, when the other parts of the library are closed. So you could have community events that could take place beyond the regular hours of the library. You would also have access to this auditorium, which would be designed with the elements that we need that's beyond what we can do in this space. So lighting, technology, and seating for up to 200.
Of your community, of your meeting rooms, how many meeting rooms do you have, and what's the nature of them? Are some of them 2-3 people tutor rooms, or what?
So this large gathering space is kind of a main space. A lot of the meeting rooms are on the second.
Right, and that's what I'm asking. And how
So
many
we-
are there, and what is their size?
So let's go to the next floor. You can see those meeting rooms. So they have about 4,000 square feet of meeting rooms.
Okay.
So those can be configured in all different kinds of ways. But I can get you more information on exactly how many meeting rooms where we just allocated that amount for individual meeting rooms and group studies.
And
There's a
they-
team law.
And they might be reconfigurable too.
Right, right.
So you could have it set for 2 people
Yeah,
and then expand if needed.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can you share with us some
Thank you.
feedback that you've gotten?
Most of the feedback is very positive. We have a page on the website that Phil's helped us design, so we're pushing all of this information out there. We sent out a update to 21,000 users on email a couple weeks ago and asked them to make more comments at the website. So they're putting up questions and we're responding to those questions on the website. You can also see, I don't know if this is up there yet, but it will be up there as a plan that people can see it, but all of the images are up there. So I would say 90% of the comments are positive. I've had a few concerns about the parking, a few concerns about the special collections, some comments about the Art Deco building. I'm not sure exactly what Art Deco building they're talking about. The main library, that building disappeared in 1972, but
they remember it.
they remember it. And the important piece is elements of the building, of the 1928 building, the Dooley Foyer, that can be re-preserved in this building. So Special Collections has an area. On that side of the building, the part that will have to be sacrificed to expand for that gathering space and auditorium, many of those historic elements will be preserved, but many of the pieces that people don't know about, like the what we call the stacks, which is that 8-story cube in the center of that building, which is not accessible, not a very great way, it's not working for us in terms of book storage.
Fire hazard.
And it's literally a fire hazard. If you read the book, the library book by Susan Orleans, that was how the Los Angeles Public Library burnt down.
It's a wonderful chimney.
Yeah, it's a wonderful chimney. And the other thing about the space is it's difficult to have programs in there because some of the rooms, the volumes are too big, and they're not large enough to fit a lot of people, and they're not big enough to, accommodate comfortably a lot of people. We also have a mezzanine. The mezzanine is wonderful to walk around, but it's not very usable space. So there's a lot of spaces that are pretty, but they're not as functional as we need in a modern library. So that was one of the reasons why, and we spent a lot of time talking about how to incorporate the 28 building into the new building to develop this plan and design what our patrons were telling us they wanted to see. And we just landed on to get the spaces we wanted and the collections on the first floor and accessible study rooms and all those things. We needed to make some very difficult decisions.
Yeah.
And this is what we came up with. But I'll tell you, so many people are just very thrilled to see this concept. And they look at what's happening in DC and they look at what's happening around the country, and they really are excited about this.
Is the collection going to stay the same? We're going to have the same number of books as we had before?
No. Right now, we have, originally when we started, we had 750,000.
Okay.
This collection will hold 500,000. So on the floor, you'll have access to 500,000 books. Now, we have about 440,000 books in this building. All those books will come up to the first floor. There are many books that are in our collection that we've been steadily deaccessioning and updating, and those probably will not make it into this collection. Remember, we have probably 300, I think we have about 300,000 books on the shelves in our branches. So between Maine and our branches, we'll still have access to 800,000 volumes.
And
So-
I'm not questioning.
Oh, no, I'm
I'm
not
not
wondering, yeah.
questioning.
No,
it, I'm just asking.
it's a good question, because one of the concerns is that we're going to lose access to physical books.
Yeah.
And actually, this plan will allow more access to physical books, because many of those books in the collection are in storage. And when they're in storage, they're not working for us. And they're also not accessible. So,
And we budgeted $1 million for an opening day collection.
yeah, so we would, the average copyright date of books at the main library was, when I first got here, 1972. I think that number has moved up to probably 1985, but we still have a collection that's very old. Now, I'm not saying that old books aren't great, but one of the things that the architect told us is if you had a Walmart store, they might have 1 million items in a Walmart store. If you had 500,000 volumes, 500,000 things that weren't moving, do you think Walmart would keep them on the shelf? They would try and sell them or get them out the door. And so books on our shelves are very similar to like the Walmart. And, you know, we have to have product that's moving, that's meeting our patrons' needs. If it's not moving, it's not meeting their needs or it's out of date. And we're not the state library. The state library has room for, there's probably 3 million volumes at the state library. So if you need historical information or those sorts of things or higher research, you need to visit our partners at the state library or at Virginia Commonwealth University for more in-depth stuff. We're a public library, and we have to have a broad collection that serves as many people as we can. And so a book on our shelf has to earn its keep and keep moving.
When people ask me about parking, I link it to the demand for expanded meeting and gathering space, that there's a need for parking for larger groups. And I tell them, I've never had a parking problem here, except when I've tried to come to a big presentation.
Yep.
So, that's,
Well,
and also the new building down at MCV has 1,500 parking spaces underground. So there's just a demand, it's driving town.
you know, at the community meeting in July, I think you both were, most of you were here. Parking was the first issue that came up, and we almost could not get them to stop talking about parking. And so if we built this building and we put all these wonderful spaces and open the collection up and we're doing these wonderful programs, we're not going to answer the needs of what people are telling us if we don't address that issue. And so I think the architects came up with a great way to take space that was once needed in 1972, because if you think about information in 1972, we didn't have the internet that we had access to. Like, just with the Hoopla app, you have access to 600,000 items. That's videos, books, magazines, music. We didn't have that. And so now we have, now it's really about access, and the books that we have to be available, current, and meeting the needs of our patrons. If it's sitting on our shelves, we've got to be able to keep it moving.
Other comments, questions? A lot of y'all either virtually or physically were here for the last public meeting, and they went through a lot of things. One of the things that I noticed, it sort of stuck with me, when you look at this, there were some questions about, well, we're trying to move the kids up front, we want to make that very accessible, but they've actually positioned that a little bit back, so it's still visible, easily accessible, but safe. So they've thought about things like that, and I mean, personally, I'm really impressed with the job that Janet and Gail and the team have done with guiding them in that right direction to give us something. Great meeting room space, very attractive. I guess I look at it and think, it should age well, which is one of the problems you have sometimes with these. I don't think this looks faddish or like it's gonna quickly, we're gonna be looking at it in 30 years, or somebody will be looking at it in 30 years and saying, what were they thinking? That it really does have a lot of flexibility, and it's a big project, but it's well thought out at this point.
Lots of light. This building has a lot of light in it, but it's covered up. Mm-hmm. We have some amazing vistas. If you're ever on the first floor and you look out the front window, you'll see Franklin. And then if you look out the back, you can see Maine. You can stand in one spot and see these giant cathedral windows, which add a lot of light, but they're covered up sometimes. They were covered up for a long time by 90-inch shelving, 8-foot tall shelving throughout the whole building. Because in '72, that was the era. We wanted to impress people, and we wanted to show people how many books you had access to. And that was powerful. Well, now it's not necessarily to have the books in the building. We need to be able to have access to them. We need to have the books that people want when they want it, because with Twitter and all of the things, that device in your hand, you can get a lot of information. So that's less impressive. We need spaces to come together and have community meetings, do the things that are so well exemplified in our strategic plan of access, lifelong learning, early literacy, and telling the Richmond story, which is what we're going to have a chance to do with that Richmond room. So it's an exciting plan. I love the comments that we're getting, positive. The criticism we're getting is great to hear because it's informing us, and it's a great concept.
Okay, other questions for Scott, Janet, or Gail?
I just want to comment on aging, that it will age well. A lot of that is considered when you pick furniture and fixtures and
Sure.
colors. So that's another challenge that we'll get to face.
Sure.
And I remember at the VCU library, when they added the floors, this would have been around 71, they had this horrible wallpaper. It was zigzags in typical 70s colors. So I want to assure everyone that we're not going to pick anything that 10 years later people are going to say, oh my gosh, that's so awful.
Wallpaper's back though, so.
But it can also be changed. It's not like the windows, the entrance, et
Right,
cetera.
true,
We're
true, yeah.
I don't know
getting
if
the structure right.
you know this, but behind the old circulation desk on the first floor, there was wallpaper like that. It's been painted over.
Well, the renovation was what, 72?
Well, in 72,
this
they put
building?
wallpaper up behind the circulation desk. It was a wavy
Uh-huh.
19... Like Gail said, it's kind of come back. I think
Yeah,
it went
yeah.
out, got painted over, now it's back.
No,
So,
Careful.
Yeah.
they had some bad taste in the 70s.
and they'll probably say we have bad
That's
taste.
right.
Yes, they
Right. Okay, so moving on, governance. I don't know that Emily sent a report. I don't think there's anything of major import that needs to be talked about. I think in June, we'll look at all the committee roles and so on. So we'll do that. I don't even think at next month's meeting. I think the following is what she had said.
Okay.
So I guess the unfinished business, I'm not sure. I think it's never going to be finished. Is advocacy. I don't like to see it as unfinished. They're like, well, it's not so much unfinished as it is an ongoing process, and it's an ever present. But Chris, did you want to talk about advocacy?
I want to pat everyone on the back. Good team. But when I look through what made us so successful, I want to point out three things. First, we had a really clear message. The strategic plan drove that, but access really resonated. Children's literacy really resonated. We knew what to talk about. The next thing that I was dazzled by is how each of you did your homework. Whether it was talk with a branch manager and team with them to go have a conversation, figure out whose best friend was who and get them to intervene, or be our high energy political whiz kid like Garrett is. We had different strategies going forward that each trustee developed, and I thank you for that. It was active, which we want this board to be. It was strategic. It was intellectually driven, and best of all, it was successful. So that was very well done. And you each created a relationship with council. And I don't know, honestly, but this was the first time the trustees, I believe, have uniformly throughout the council membership reached out and told our story. And because you're all so great, you developed a really good relationship with your council person. So those are my three big things that we did that really, really worked. Now, the library has to deliver. We have to change and be very, very active in children's literacy. We have to get people into the library after 2 years of being on their computers. We have to show that what they invested in makes a difference in their community, because people make decisions on personal, making a difference with their neighbors. And I'm 100% sure Scott can do that. And when he does, then we can be ready to take action next year to build. Who said momentum? Whoever said momentum is exactly right. This is, we turned things. Now we have to go. Now we have to go up. So that's my applauding as Bill did, but with a little Chris Peterson spin.
That's pretty much what you wanted to say?
That's all I
Okay,
wanted
I'm
to
gonna
say.
add one thing to that then. We can't rest. And Chris is not saying we rest. We keep that momentum going. That probably means that by either July or September, we need to come out of one of those meetings and say, okay, here's the message that we're gonna carry through the fall. Because we're pretty close on the timing on this budget request. And we wanna
Oh,
have.
I think we were too late. I think we were
Right.
given a
We-
gift. You're too kind to say that. We just got really
got-
lucky.
Well, we got lucky and y'all did a good job.
And represented a really good institution. But yeah, we need to do better.
Yeah, and I think
Always.
really, we're gonna see Scott and his team delivering. It's funny, Scott and I were just, as the meeting was before it opened, we were just talking about, they asked Scott on that 100,000, 500,000, that discussion as to where that additional on Tuesday. And he said they wanted to know what he could do for this or that. And I said, the biggest thing there is that we can't under-deliver. Anything that he said that we could do for that money. So those Broad Rock hours, even if we find it's a little more, some's got to cut somewhere else. We have to deliver those things that we promised them. And I think you're absolutely right on that, Chris. But as those get delivered, we need to highlight them. Y'all need to be able to go back to your council people and say,
Keep
hey,
building
good
that
news.
relationship.
We've
Yeah.
started doing this. This is happening. And not asking for more money for
No.
September, October, November. Just the good news. Passing that along repeatedly. And then,
And good marketing.
yeah.
Which is my skill set.
Right.
Yes.
Maybe not good,
Yeah.
but marketing is my skill set. Involves a lot of touch points where you don't ask for money.
Right.
Where you're just telling them things that are helpful to them. And there's nothing that annoys a donor more than every time you talk to them, you're asking for money. We're not going to do
Right.
that. Yeah.
Thank you. That's where I was going. Thank you. Okay. Any new business that anyone has? No. Okay.
Are you getting ready to adjourn?
We are getting ready to adjourn. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
No, I wanted to
would
say
say-
something
yeah.
before you do.
Oh, okay.
Let us say things.
That was the new business?
On the subject of censorship and book banning, it's
Yes.
discouraging that it's spread from school libraries to public libraries.
Yes.
Right.
So I don't know how many of you saw this, but I was very excited that the Brooklyn Public Library
Yeah, I saw that.
is
Yeah.
letting teenagers 13 to 21 anywhere in the country get an e-card for their library, and I'm sure they have a fabulous collection of electronic books. So when I saw that, I thought, well, this is how libraries put their foot down and say, we are not going to go quietly along with censorship. So very encouraging.
I also have a question. I saw these are in our last minutes from you, Scott, where you were talking about the RVA Reads program is looking for readers. Do you have contact information for Ms. Crump?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I'd like to hear.
I had the wonderful opportunity last Monday to go to Maymont Preschool. And Ms. Crump, we distributed books with Little Critter. And Little Critter goes to the bank and saves money to fix his skateboard. And we taught I got to tell 4-year-olds about coins and money and read to them about Little Critter. And I got some very nice hugs from some 4-year-olds. It was the best day I've had in a very long time.
They're the nicest people.
They are just, and talk about, that is where it happens, you know, and I can't thank this board enough for the advocacy you all did. And I can assure you that our staff is ready to stand up, and they're not gonna let us down. We're gonna be able to go back there and say, we are providing access and literacy, and we'll get it done. So I have no doubt that we'll be able to do it.
Okay, before I ask for motion to adjourn, is anyone else? No, okay.
We just like being together, Bill.
I know, and you know, it's rare that we're gonna end 15 minutes early. I mean, in fact, ending within 15 minutes is rare. So, I think we'll take advantage of that unless anyone has anything additional. No. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Janet. In a second?
Second.
Okay, Sharon, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, we are adjourned. Thank you all, and
What is this program?
just great work. Keep it up, and we'll see everybody. It's a reminder that 3-board retreat on the 7th. It's really important. And take a look, there's an agenda attached to it. It's very simple on the agenda, but it's asking you to think a little bit.
Where is it in here?
It's on the first page, on page 3.